Welcome to Venture with Joe and Cody, where we take a deep dive into the minds of leaders and innovators making a real impact today. I'm Joe.
And I'm Cody. And we're here to bring you the raw stories, the successes, and the setbacks that these trailblazers have experienced in their journey to where they are today.
Every week, we sit down with a new guest who's ready to share their insight and advice on business, entrepreneurship, and making a difference in their community. From local community members to industry experts, you're going to get the unfiltered truth behind their success.
So whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned professional, or just curious about the business world, join us for a journey of learning and inspiration.
So let's grab a drink, settle in, and let's get started. This is Venture with Joe and Cody. Hey guys, we're back with another episode of Venture with Joe and Cody. My name is Joe Skipper, owner of Skipper Realty Group. Out of Oregon with Cody Wilhelm, out of Washington Residential Mortgage. How are you, my man?
That's right, Washington.
One of the podcasts I listen to, it's the Adam Carolla and Dr. Drew, and it's not like what was it? Loveline. It's not Loveline,
yeah,
but it's their old version of this, and they just banter and whatever. But I always think of their intro because Adam Carolla will just intro like how he intros the board certified physician, Dr. Drew. Like he just kind of rambles off or says something or you don't understand it. And I was like, maybe I just need to do that with Cody. Just like Cody, blah, 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 blah. But maybe not. But anyways, that just reminded me of that.
It's worth a shot.
The intro is difficult because it's just, we hear it all the time. Like we say it all the time.
Yeah.
Probably to most people, they don't even think about it. But because I say it, I feel super insecure about it, you know?
Well, and then you wonder, like, should I say the same thing every time? Do I change it up? I know.
It's weird. Anyways, my man. Well, how are you doing? How's the week going? What's going on in your life?
Good. Yeah, we just finished up the month of April, so kind of getting through the busy chaos, the spring season of home buying and selling. So close that out. So it's nice to they are. Yeah, it's kind of hit or miss, but it feels like we kind of went through a nice little wave where it seemed a little bit busier, and then it always seems that way, where it's like you have a month or two and they're busy, and then it starts to slow down and you start to question everything. And then the phone rings again.
Applying for McDonald's jobs and
exactly.
You need to get back to it.
Who's hiring out there? What can I do?
I was like, I got to stay in shape because I might have to be a cop again. Like,
right? Yeah, at least you got that to fall back on. Yeah,
I don't think they take me. I'm too old now, man. I'm washed up.
That's true.
I'm washed up.
Can you pass the physical?
I like in my head. I think that I'm capable, but I think I could be. I think I could do it.
Well, that's how I feel when I step on a skateboard and I realize that I'm not capable anymore.
And hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Oh man.
How you doing?
Yeah, that's good. Good. Things are trucking along. Everything, the real estate world for us, thankfully, in a real estate world that is pretty hard, I think, nationally for a lot of agents. Like we're thankful that we still have business trucking in. So we're ramping up. It's getting busier and busier, and
good. You're doing something right.
I think so. I think
it's the podcast. That's probably where your business is coming from.
That's the only thing. No, I think for all of us, it's hard to kind of talk to sellers and buyers and everyone just kind of about the new market. And I know we've talked about it forever, week to week, but it's just, it's hard. It's slower sales, slower offer pace, slower, and it's just like kind of getting used to that. It's not that, your price is off or you need to drop the price 10%, 15%. It's like, you just have to wait, like it's even buyers interested are like, let's give it a week. Let's sit on it. If it sells, they're just more apt to say that stuff. So it's just an interesting market. Again, we're thankful we have a lot of clients, but it is harder for them, to kind of navigate this selling world. So, but
yeah, it's a weird time too. Like this seems to be the normal kind of where things would pick up, but I feel like there's just a lot of uncertainty and like you said, people are just more on the fence about it. And I think waiting is kind of like what people just naturally go to until they just realize, I think probably what we have been seeing over the last few years, that just waiting, I think that there's a lot of people that still think that waiting is going to produce this like epic crash or decrease in prices or something. And who's to say that it won't, but I don't know. I feel like what we went through in 08, 09 was just an anomaly. It's kind of like having interest rates at 2.5%. Like that just is not going to probably happen again. So
yeah, I think you're right. It's the bubble's not there that I see popping.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's what's hard is because the media can take a big conglomerate of all of America and say there's a bubble, you know?
Yeah.
And it could be the case in certain areas. I know Florida, I've heard anecdotally, and Texas anecdotally
Yeah.
has a lot of supply and not as
Yeah.
much demand. So there are some places that have it, but I do think there's people that hear the media talk about that nationally and think in Oregon or Washington, oh, I'm just going to wait till prices drop $100,000, and it's just
Right.
not. We're not seeing it. Like,
Yeah.
and we're seeing still buyer activity at good prices. So, you know, yeah, we could be wrong, but it's just not in the cards. I don't know, but you can't
I don't
convince
think so
people.
either.
Maybe it's just not for them. It's not to buy right now. That's fine. But
Yeah.
to try and convince people that it's not going to do that is hard. And then,
Yeah.
you know, they wait 10, 15 years down the road and they're like, and it does happen. They're like, I told you.
Yeah, right.
I told you it was going to happen.
Just took longer
I
than I
just waited
thought.
17 years, but you guys are liars.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, guess we are.
Yeah, no kidding.
You don't know
'cause if
anything about the market.
Yeah. If you bought a house after 2009, 10, up until now, so the last 15 years, I don't know that there's a point. Maybe it'd be people's individual situation. But as far as just the market, I don't know that there's a whole lot of regret in like buying at that time. Right? So it's, I don't know. I guess like you
If
said,
you can afford it, like
Yeah.
and rather than invest in stocks, like, and I'm not saying don't do that, but a
Right.
lot of people we've seen have actually, you know, you think that people with stock portfolios are kind of hesitant to buy in cash. Having said that, there are some people with stock portfolios that are like, I'd rather throw this money into a home because I know
Right.
that, yeah, it's not going to be as volatile. It won't be as volatile, which is good. It won't gain you maybe as much year to year,
Right.
depending on where you go, but it will just be a good solid base to kind of keep in, you know, keep appreciating. So we do see people starting to do that, to say, yeah, I can afford this. I'm rather than day trading stocks and seeing my portfolio just like woo making the rounds, I just want to put it in homes, you know. So
Right.
there's multiple ways to think about it.
You got to live somewhere. So you might as well
For sure.
own the place you're living if you can afford it and make it happen.
I agree. Well, speaking of this, I wanted to go over some crazy stories with you.
Oh, yes.
I have one recent one, but I have one that's like not so recent that I wanted to talk about.
I love
I'll
a
get
good
fired
story.
up about. I'm gonna get fired up about the second one or the more recent one, but I'll start with the old one if you have the time to listen.
I have. Let's see. Yep, I do.
Okay, good. Okay, so we got it. We have a deal. Well, I'm working with clients. I might have told you this, but I'm gonna say it again. I think
Yeah.
you already know it, but act
Okay.
like you're interested and act like you don't know anything that's gonna happen.
I will.
Be at the edge of your seat.
I have such a bad memory that it's probably going to seem new to
I'm
me,
the
even
same.
if you
I'd be
told
like,
me.
oh yeah, I think you may have told me. I just didn't.
Right.
It's like my wife.
Yeah.
So have a friend of ours client that is like friends, you know, it's not a cold lead. It's not anything. It's someone that is solid, wants to use me as their agent, you know, no issues with that. So it's all the paperwork for buyer's agents agreements, all the stuff there is all a mere formality because they agree, you know, so there's no excuse for what happened, but I'm just giving you a preface that it's not like
Yes.
a new client. So anyways, they've made a couple offers. They're cash buyers. They're a couple. They made a couple offers on different homes throughout the area. They ended up not going with them or not winning the offer, or vice versa, whatever the case might be. So at every time that we made that offer, every time we made the offer, the husband was the one to sign. He just is like, it's easier to just have it under my name. I don't want my wife's name under it. The stock stuff, you know, their portfolio has his name on it. He can just make the offer. So no big deal. So when we signed the buyer's agent agreement, it was with him. Though the wife has all the power, you know, as much as him, they make the decisions. But anyways, so we're going along. It's like Tommy Boy, driving along. But anyways, we finally find the house that they both agree to again. They're like, let's make an offer. I write up the offer. I'm writing up the offer. And he says, let's just put, for this particular house, let's put my wife on it. I don't want to be put on it because we can use her account, you know, to pay for it. And I said, okay, cool. Let's just write it under her name. So write it under her name, make the offer, gets accepted, cruising along. Everything happens. It closes. Think everything's fine. No. When I had him sign that buyer agent agreement, he signed it. She did not. So we are in a point where I get a letter from my brokerage saying, hey, can you get the buyer's agent agreement signed prior to the contract for this purchase? And I was like, I have it. Yeah, I have it, right? I think I have it.
Uh-huh.
And I look and I only have his name on there. So they're basically like, you can't get paid. Like you've been paid, but now you need to give it back.
Really?
And so I'm at this panic point, like, because, you know, it's not the end of the world, but it's like, it's it's a
Yeah, that's
big
a big
deal.
deal. You haven't
So
told me this story, by the way.
I basically I call my wife. I was like, look, we may lose this money, just so you know. Like, and she's like freaking out. I'm like, I know that we have, you delineate different parts of your budget from from the
Sure.
commission to pay for things that you need to pay for. So we had already planned all this, and I was like, I just want you to know, it's like I'm stressing about it. We might not get, might have to return this money, like.
Wow.
And so, anyways, talk to my principal broker, find out that my personal brokerage has been doing the buyer's broker agreement in advance of the new laws that took effect and all the stuff that actually happened legally. My brokerage was kind of on the forefront, said, let's just start doing it. Let's just do it before it's required. It's down the pipeline, so we've got to just do it. Talk to my broker, and I'm like, is there any way? I was like, he signed it. Yes, she didn't sign it, but this was one-off deal. This is like, they're both in agreement. She'll sign it now. She'll sign a new one. She'll sign, like, post date. He's like, I don't think you can backdate it. Like, he's like, this is, you've already closed on this deal. To say that now she signs it, like, whatever. It's like, so he's like, let me call you back. I'll start talking to our heads of heads to see like what, if anything we can do. So at this point, I'm like, I'm honestly like, and it's maybe sad, but maybe opportunistic. I was like, okay, well, the positive is like I can make a video on this and teach people and teach agents.
Sure.
Like the mistake I made that cost me
thousands
upon thousands of dollars. I was like, I will do a video, like, and just teach people like this is a mistake you can make, and it's a simple mistake. It wasn't, anything malicious, and so like 3 hours later, he calls me and is like, okay, we managed to get it to let you keep it. However, because the law had not officially changed in Oregon, it was EXP's decision, their company policy.
Yeah.
He's like, we can make an exception here, but he's like, once this law comes into place, if you don't have that in there, we are done.
No way.
It was
really
insane. Absolutely insane.
Wow.
I was like, the amount of like stress that went through me in the last few hours of that was.
So that all happened like within 1 day where you found out, and then, or did it stretch out over like a couple days?
You know what's funny is I got an email from EXP, and I thought it was just their standard email, like, oh, there's some issue with whatever. You get those emails that are just kind of more, it appeared more standard. So I just ignored it. And so my transaction coordinator actually emailed me, and she's like, hey, how are we going to address this? And that's where I was like, what do you mean address it? I was like, because at first I thought, well, even if there's a mistake, like it's her husband, like he's already signed one, they're good. Like handshake, high five, aren't we good? Like they're friends. Yeah. So I just thought, oh yeah, it's no big deal. And Caitlin, my transaction coordinator, was like, no, it's like not a good deal. It kind is, you will be paying back all that money. And I was like, oh no. So it was probably a couple days, but the first part of it, I was so naive. I was like, yeah, it's fine. I'll just email EXP and say we're cool, like no big deal.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. And then it was like, no. So there was like a day of like 4 hours of like, and 4 hours doesn't seem like a long time until you're like, how am I? And my wife's like, I got to move money around back. Cause it had already been closed. It had been closed for probably a week or so. So it wasn't like it was like a closed the day of, and they're like, hey, give that back. It's like, their time had gone on enough where Christina's like spending, like, and so even as I'm talking about it, it stresses me out. But anyways, if you're an agent out there listening, make sure that who makes the offer is sign the buyer's agent agreement before you write the offer, even if they're your buddies. Yeah. It's
wow. I would have never thought that would, I mean, I understand it, but I would have never thought, you'd think that it's just like a make sense. Oh, the husband signed it, but it was just the wife that was on there. But I guess technically,
I know. And I was like, there's a letter of the law and the color of the law, they say. And like, I get the letter of the law for sure. Yeah, but I was like, really? Like, yeah. And I was like, it was enough of a commission where I was like, I may fight it. Like, I was talking to Christina, I was like, I may actually like pursue this and get some appeal or something. Cause I'm like, this is not an insignificant amount of money. And I don't think, yes, it was a mistake made, but it wasn't like, it was like, I just didn't have anyone sign it. I just, I disregarded the rules that in all cases it was like, but it just goes to show it ultimately my fault. But man, paying attention to those little details, especially with the buyer's broker.
Yeah, that'll hit the panic button.
Crazy. But anyways, you got one that can top that?
We have, mine's not quite the same type of thing, but yeah, I've got one that was probably within the last year or so. But little side note on that. Did you know and I don't know if this is for every company. This is for every company that I've ever worked for, which I think I'm at my like fourth company maybe since in the business. If we close on a loan and that person who got the loan, as we call them, the borrower, if they pay off that mortgage within 6 months,
Yeah.
we have to pay back our commission.
Yeah. I heard that.
But how do you tell somebody that?
It's very hard. And I've had that. I don't know if I've had that conversation with you before or if I've had it with another lender that had that same issue. And basically, yeah. Is this leading into that story?
No, but it just made me think of it when you were talking about like potential of commission coming back.
Absolutely. It's scary because we have had a couple that were like, yeah, we want to pay it off. They were super kind and they were like, look, we'll wait till the day that they get, whatever the date that is, we'll just wait to pay it off so that they can keep their commission. But there was that fear, and the lender was like, I don't know how to ask. Like, I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be like greedy, but it's like if they pay this, because they were like, yeah, we're going to pay it off in a month. Like when we sell our house, we're just going to pay it off, or we're going to, I forgot the scenario, but it was like the lender's like, can you ask about it? Yeah. Right. And I totally get it because they worked hard for it. And so luckily those sellers were like, or the buyers were like, yeah, totally. We'll just wait. We were going to pay it off early, but we'll just wait 9 months.
Make 6 payments.
Yeah.
Call it good. Yeah.
That's scary. Do you have that a lot?
No, not a lot, but I do have it sometimes when they're buying a house and they're selling their house after they close.
Yep.
And their plan is just to pay off that mortgage. And it's like, oh, okay. Well, yes, you can do that. Just here's how it works. I do. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's smart to get ahead of it because most people understand that, I think.
Yeah.
Like a difference of what, 2 months? Like if you're going to sell your house, like even 6 months, just be like, just wait a half year and pay it off. Like,
and I'm upfront with them on it too, as much as it's kind of an awkward conversation.
Yeah.
Because they'll ask, like, is it okay if I just pay it off? I'm like, you can do whatever you want with it. I'm not going to tell you what you can and can't do. Just know that our company, as well as myself, like everything that we would make on that loan, we have to pay back, myself included. So I'm not going to tell you that you can't do it, but if there's any possibility that you can make 6 payments, please do that.
Yeah.
And they're usually pretty cool about it because it's to them, like you said, it might be the difference of a couple months once everything's said and done. Or it's like, hey, you can put down a big chunk of that and then just pay the rest off in a couple more months. Please, for me, I'll get you a nice gift.
That's like, it's nice, like working with clients that, you want to work with, like really finding, like, I know we'll help anyone, but it's like, it's always nice to be a more referral and things like that. Cause then you get people that you kind of don't worry about those things that some people, I think with a lot of cold leads, you get a lot of that more. That's like, I don't care who you are, like they don't have any, and it's, I think that when you have like a warm lead system, it works a little bit better.
Yeah. They care a little bit more.
Yeah.
And
they respect what you do, but there's always going to be people that don't. Like we have that multiple times.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before, is like, if they're immediately asking for discounts, they don't respect what you're doing. Like
exactly. Right. Yeah. No, the story that I was thinking of, I think it was within the last year or so, without going into too many details. This borrower had job hopped a lot. And, for us on the lending side, you can change jobs. You can even change types of jobs. It really comes down to the consistency. Is it something that's kind of predictable? What's your income structure like? He had bounced around jobs a lot. And when he filled out the application, there were not the job gaps on the application that were the reality. So we're moving along thinking, okay, we've got little gaps here and little gaps here, but we're totally fine. We're still within the guidelines. Well, they get under contract. We're moving along. And as these verification of employment documents come back from his previous employers, it's like, oh, that month and a half gap that he said he had here was actually 4 months. And then this next one was 2 months. And then, so we're going through and like, okay, we're now to this point where you no longer qualify because you haven't been at your current job for 6 months. But the good news, we're like 20 days away from 6 months. So if we can extend this for an additional 20, 30 days, not ideal for anybody, but the seller was in a position where they could, and the buyers decided to. So we get to this point and now we're like coming up against it, and we had to go a little bit farther to get one pay stub. So he hit his 6 months and then we needed that pay stub. So that got us into needing one more extension. And the seller at this point was like, okay, we're going to release earnest money. In order for us to just hit this last step, we need some commitment from you as the buyer. And buyers are like, no, we can't do that. It was $1,000 earnest money, because it was like, I don't remember what the situation was. It was, they knew the seller, something where it wasn't your normal like 1% earnest money. So it was $1,000. And they're like, no, we just can't risk it. We're not in a position where we can do that. We're just going to have to back out. And so myself and the other agent were like, dude, we're almost here. Like, we've gone through so much to get here. Let's do this.
Figure
if
this
you
out.
if this doesn't go through, this other agent and I will help split the cost of your earnest money. So you're not out anything. You're at no risk here. And so she's back and forth. No. So then I'm talking to her and I'm like, hey, what's really going on here? Because we've gone down this path. Like, we've gone through so much stuff here. And now I feel like I don't know, do you not want the place anymore? And she's like, well, I'm just worried about my husband's work. Like, he has a hard time staying with jobs and everything.
Yeah.
So they ended up backing out. We got to this point where we're like, all we need is for you to just stay at your job for one more week so we can get that pay stub and confirm that you are still there. Well, then I find out, I don't remember how much longer ago. It was a couple weeks, a month. I'd followed up with them to check in. Sure enough, he'd quit his job. So I think that they knew. I mean, and I don't know when he quit his job. He could have quit his job before we even got that pay stub. But sometimes I'm like, dude, I just heard about one the other day where the guy quit his job or changed jobs, and it's like the last week of the loan, and nobody really knew what was going on. I'm like, how is it? Sometimes I wonder, is it really that hard? Like, just keep your job until the house closes. Once the house closes,
do whatever
you get to live your life however you want again. But
I know.
Like, give us 30 days of like a controlled environment. Outside of that, do whatever you want. But
I know it seems so common sense, but it's like, I don't know. People have different priorities, I guess, like, or don't really take it as seriously as, maybe it's a lack of knowledge, maybe it's a lack of care, but it's like, I don't know that they don't.
The amount of times I get people that will ask me if they can take another job at the beginning or during the middle of the process, it blows my mind, because I don't know. Maybe like you said, maybe it's just an education piece, and it's just like not really thinking that it's going to be, because what does it matter if you go get a car or anything else?
Well, or they're like, I make, like, this new job makes more money, so what's the big deal?
Right.
Like it's like, it's not a big deal to us. Like, it's not, like, it's a big deal to your lender that's going to lend you $500,000 or more, and so.
And for the most part, if you don't have a history of just bouncing jobs, you're going to be fine, more than likely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of a blanket statement, but there are people that it's like, if you take that next job, now we're looking at, you might have to be there for 6 months because you've changed jobs 3 different times in the last 24 months or whatever. So it's like, sometimes even though, they are making more money, it's like, oh yeah, but now we got to do this and this and this in order to just keep us where you were at 2 days ago. But
for sure.
Yeah. You have another one,
stuff.
Don't you?
I do.
You said you had a more recent one?
I know. I don't know if it should be talked about right now. Like, as I
is
calm
too fresh.
down, it is too fresh.
Yeah.
No, I don't know if I can talk about it. Not because of anything, it's just more privacy reasons, I think, at this point.
Sure.
As I was thinking about it. But no, I think what I can say is that, feel free to call me. I'm happy to talk about it in person.
Yeah.
I think what happens, it was another example after example after example, but this was the latest example of, if you don't have an agent that is worth it, and I'm not saying I'm the best agent around, but if you cut corners, if you get a discount agent, if you're going to get discount service. And in this particular case, it cost a deal. And it wasn't me. It just cost my client the deal. And because the other agent was either performed poorly out of maliciousness or out of stupidity, it's one or the other. And it just goes to show they're super upset. They were, not upset at me, but it was like, how did people get away with this? And unfortunately, in this industry, as much as everyone wants to say that, we have the board of realtors and we have this big, investigation purposes and get people caught, like, in trouble. I came from the police world. Nothing in this real estate industry has this highest standard of what we had to be held to in the police world. And I'm not saying that agents should be held to the high standard like that, but I kind of am. Like, I think we see this more often than not, that like you can easily get your real estate license. You can. It's a couple $1,000s to take the courses to get the license, but it takes a lot more to be a good agent. And I just hate seeing people, they're not even my clients, but they're going to lose out on a sale. And it's just because it's a lack of competency in the other side of things. And it's just like super frustrating, because it's like, these are huge purchases and people are putting a lot on the line. They're sitting off the market, they're pending, they're dealing with all this stuff, expecting that their agent is going to provide them with the service that will get them to the end. And it's just frustrating. I don't know. It's just, don't slack on an agent or a lender. Just don't. Like, it's cool to see that you could save this on X lender or X agent. I could save this much. What do you guys really do? It's like, I wish I could show people the times that clients have lost out on deals that they wanted because of the agent. Super frustrating. But anyways, I've given your stuff on a random note. Speaking of good lenders, I've given people, you offer some things for our listings that offer that 1% credit to people that are going to use you. So just to get my mind off that, can you kind of go into that? Basically, if you're listening, any of the listings that Christine and I have, and probably other agents that Cody works with, the ones we have, he's offering a 1% discount if you go through him to purchase the home. So can you go into that? Because I think that's important, that with this 1%, it's a big deal, especially with these rates. So
yeah, it is. So what we did is we were kind of brainstorming on some different ideas on, what are different ways that we can help out to not only give a little bit of an incentive for a buyer, but also be able to help out our real estate partners and help move the needle a little bit more for listings. Because as we've talked about before, seller concessions are at a pretty high clip right now, which is just, it's hard. Nobody wants to give up any money, right? And so if we can kind of jump in and say, hey, we're going to take on this 1%, so maybe that can ease some of the burden from the listing side, helps us to be able to get in front of more people, helps you to get more eyes on your property. So it's something that we're doing where if you go through us for the financing on one of your properties, then we will offer that 1% credit. So I offer essentially 0.5% from me, and then my company offers 0.5% as well. So you combine those two, and we've got a 1% credit. So it has to be for those properties, just because from a compliance standpoint, we have to have a reason for why we're offering a discounted service. It can't just be just because like, oh, I wanted to give it to this person and this person didn't get it. So we have to keep it specific, but it's a great way for us to be able to just kind of help bring more eyes to the property, help, structure things a little bit different for a buyer, to where now they can have that built in. We can use that to buy the rate down. We can use it to just offset closing costs, whatever that looks like. And so it'll go up to, it's 1% of the loan amount. So up to a $10,000 max. So like if you're looking at a jumbo loan type of property and your loan amount's over $1 million, then our cap is 10,000. But you can use that, like I said, rate buy down or closing costs.
Yeah, that's cool. So, I think I've given it to a couple of buyers just recently, and so maybe you'll be getting calls here soon. So
I appreciate that.
Just a good opportunity for people to kind of get their rates down or help with closing costs without like kind of asking the seller necessarily. With all that stuff. So
sure. Yeah. No, I appreciate that.
Well, cool, man. That was good. I think I got a little worked up, and now I'm kind of hitting the low now.
Well, I think it was, if anything on that last one, it's a good reminder to anybody in their profession, especially in a sales position where you are dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you have some form of guidelines or book or educational stuff, like I think at times we all feel like we have a good grasp on things, but I know from the mortgage side, stuff's changing all the time. So you can get away from it pretty quickly. Staying ahead of it, staying on top of that stuff, which sometimes you can't control things, but I think just knowing the background details of everything, I mean,
for sure,
don't have to know every single thing, but when you screw up and it completely ruins a whole deal for a buyer and a seller and everybody else involved, that's a tough pill to swallow.
I know. I know. And I'm not saying I'm better than anyone else. I'm just saying like there's great agents out there. But generally speaking, those great agents charge what they should charge because, everyone just goes through these transactions 99% of the time thinking, oh, that was easy. Why had my agent there? But more
Right.
likely than not, it's because your agent was there and that you went through this,
Yeah, exactly.
that you went through that process so smoothly. And people don't see it till they hit the other side of things and be like, what is going on, and not
Right.
having that. I think the helplessness on our end was hard because it's like,
Sure.
can't do anything. Like, can't,
Yeah.
it's out of my hands. It's on their side. So,
Yeah.
super frustrating. But, anyways,
Quick note before we wrap up on that. I have a question. Okay, so I run into this often, and I'm curious how you go about it or thoughts on it. So we all want to have it be a very smooth, easy. We want them to walk away from the process of buying a house and going, wow, that was easy.
Yeah.
Like that was way easier than I thought it
For
was
sure.
going to be. So say you have a situation where it's not easy, right? But you're just you're like taking the body shots from everywhere and you're kind of absorbing it all. Do you pass that information on to the clients and say, not to brag or anything, but to just let them know like, hey, I'm moving and grooving over here. I'm shielding you from all this stuff. So you don't need to do anything with it, but just know like in the background here, I'm like, we're working like crazy. Cause I run into that and I struggle with how
to portray.
I don't want to make them
like,
like I don't want to make it sound like it's, oh yeah, no, it's a piece of cake. All I do is click a few buttons and we're good to go. But I want them to feel that way. But I also don't want to like make them panic every time I say, hey, I'm like jumping through a million hoops here for you. I don't want you to stress about it, but I am.
I know. And that's a great, and I don't know if there's a right answer. I think people would disagree with me, but I actually talked to Christina about this when she first started is there's a fine balance. And I don't know where that balance is of letting your clients know the work you're doing without stressing them out and making them do the work with you,
right. Yeah.
And also not sounding like you're like so arrogant that, or putting any undue stress on them. So it's a great question. I found kind of a good balance now of just like, I think more information helps them. I think communicating good, bad, and ugly helps. And even if it is good on a regular basis, I just update them. Because I think I think it's subliminal, but the more you talk to clients, the more they think you're doing. Like, and it just is an open communication. So when there's issues, I just tell them, hey, this issue came up. I'm taking care of it. No big deal. I just wanted you to know about it. It just, I think just reminding them, but it's a hard balance because I'm not doing it to show them, look at how much I'm doing for you.
Right.
But you do want to let them know that like there's things going on. I'm not just sitting at my home watching a movie until this deal closes.
Right.
Like, I'm like watching a marathon of a TV series till, the end of the month when your deal closes. So there is a lot that goes on. And I used to not think that. I used to think the same thing. It's like, oh, it can't be that hard. But there's calls all the way up into 9-10 o'clock at night or 6 in the morning or whatever being like, hey, we need this, or hey, this has to happen, or hey, this kind of happened. My client just said this. There's a lot of just putting out little fires. And I don't like letting my clients know, but you also do yourself a disservice by not letting them know,
Yeah.
I think
completely agree.
Regularly updating them is what I do. And it's worked so far. And I'm not saying, I even say it's worked so far as if it's some tactic. It's just, I think that people do need to see it because I think that good agents tend to do themselves a disservice and good lenders do themselves a disservice by just by poo-pooing away everything or saying, I'll just take care of it. They won't even know what happened. I'll just do it. It's not even a big deal. But I think just informing them and saying, I found that informing them kind of shows your value. Just like, hey, I'm taking care of it. Just want you to know that this is what's happening. Like, you know, or something like that. I don't know. Every deal is unique, as you know, but
no, that's good. That's good. Cause I've always probably like you don't want to overwhelm them. It's an overwhelming experience as it is. It's stressful. There's a lot of paperwork. There's everything. So it's like trying to keep as much off of them as possible.
Because you want it to be a stress-free experience.
Yeah. But then at the end, you don't want it to feel like
they're like, you didn't do anything. I could do this next time myself.
Yeah. Right. What do I need to do this? Because that seemed really easy. You just, I did all the work. I got you all the paperwork.
For sure.
And then what did you do?
Yeah. No, I try to update them regularly. Even just kind of updates. My listings get weekly updates, just kind of like, here's what's going on. So there's no perfect scenario. It's just kind of finding that balance for you of like, showing them that you're doing it and not bragging about it.
Right.
Like they're like, okay, calm down.
Yeah.
I know you're good. You don't need to
Exactly. You don't have to tell me
about it.
every single thing you're doing.
But yeah, that's a good question. It's hard. It's hard to be
It
kind
is.
of humble and do the work in the background because I want the experience to be seamless. I don't want them to be worried about it, but
Yeah,
sometimes you got to make them worry a little bit, I guess. I don't know.
that's right.
But
Yeah. Your loan's denied, but don't worry. I'm getting it back.
here's the denial letter, but let me take care of this.
Yeah.
Don't stress
Let me
about
talk
it.
to some people.
Don't stress about it.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. It's good talking to you. And
You as well.
until next week, we'll do it again.
I love it. Have a
Okay.
good one.
See you, man.
See ya.